But Russian troops are fighting fiercely in trenches behind vast obstacles and minefields. To truly move forward, Ukraine will need to force the Russians out of their trenches and flee. The Ukrainian counterattack is slowly penetrating the Russian defenses, at the cost of huge casualties and wasted time. But if Kiev wants to avoid a grind where a successful offensive is limited to capturing an unknown village or seizing an area of a few hundred meters, it must mobilize the Russian army. To do this, Russian troops must be forced to retreat from their elaborate fortifications, widely known as the Surovikin Line, for fear of being surrounded and destroyed, or at least cut off from supplies and reinforcements. When the Russians are forced into open ground and engage in mobile combat, the more tactically agile Ukrainian troops can destroy them. This is a strategy that Nazi Germany used with some success against the French in 1940 and the Soviets in 1941. But this is easier said than done. Ukrainian troops managed to break into first of the Russian fortified belt in southern Ukraine. But for now Russian army has not been able to do so. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu emerges from a trench while inspecting troops in Ukraine in a photo December 2022. Press service The Ministry of Defense Russia via AP, if Russian units are forced to reposition, poor training and discipline of Moscow forces could leave the defense uncoordinated and prone to collapse, experts at Royal United Services Institute, a British think tank, wrote in a published report. In June, the counteroffensive was just beginning. For offensive commanders such as General George Patton, who called fixed fortifications monuments to folly of mankind, an army that remains intact is an army that has ceded the initiative to enemy. Although the Maginot Line is remembered as a fiasco, it was actually a feasible way for France to save scarce manpower and free up troops for other sectors of the line. A similar dynamic appears to be playing out in Ukraine today. Russian troops are dug into elaborate trench systems protected by millions of mines and supported by artillery and attack helicopters. They inflicted painful losses on Ukrainian assault brigades, who were still learning to use their newly adopted Western tactics and armored vehicles. Ukrainian soldiers work on the US-made Bradley armored vehicle, a secret workshop in the Zaporizhzhia region. July. Via for ed. RamWashington post second-rate French divisions also inflicted heavy losses on German assault units trying to cross the Meuse River at the Battle of Sedan in May 1940. While the French High Command hesitated, Sedan's battered defenders finally cracked, opening a hole through which German armor could quickly pass. Exploited at this point, the operation had degenerated into a mobile field war that the rigid French command and control structure could not cope with. France, considered one of the most powerful military powers in the WO,